Hello and welcome to the first episode of the Clapperboard of Change, a video podcast to reflection and dialogue focused on cinema. My name is Roberto Mendoza and I had the pleasure to present my other partners and hosts in this episode, Vivian, Evelyn, and Marcos. So guys, how are you?
Hi, everybody. I'm glad to be here with all of you. This will be a very interesting episode.
Hello, guys. I hope you're having a great time and enjoy, please, our talk about this important theme.
Hi, everybody. I'm happy to be here. I hope you enjoy this podcast.
Well, on this occasion, we will talk about a relevant topic since for all of us who enjoy watching a movie or a TV show or anything like in the film industry, it might seem imperceptible. But in many Hollywood productions, you can see how appropriation of cultural elements belonging to a heritage of traditions in various parts of the world and it's taken for a profit benefit. We are referring to cultural appropriation.
In today's episode, we will dive into a relevant and often overlooked topic in the world of cinema, that it is, of course, cultural appropriation. For movie lovers, maybe it has not so much importance, but many Hollywood productions feature the appropriation of cultural elements for profit. And today we will explore cultural appropriation, in this case of Mexico.
Well, in my experience, at first I didn't quite understand what this term referred to, but after reading and researching a bit, I understood that it is used to or adoption of cultural elements from one group by another, often in context where there is an imbalance of power. This can include the adoption of traditions, clothing, symbols, language, art, music, and other cultural aspects.
Yeah, actually, cultural appropriation in movies and TV shows is more prevalent than we may realize. Maybe we have been watching and looking for different movies and TV shows, and we cannot even notice all these facts about cultural appropriation. But Hollywood has many different themes and elements that cultural appropriation start being a theme important, and that is what we are going to talk about today. And it is important to now have an understanding or respect for their significance.
Yes, I'm agree with Evelyn and Vivian, and it's interesting. Like we saw and have a very certain way, like how cultural appropriation comes to adapting cultural elements, like they don't belong to it. Furthermore, how dominant cultures come to appropriate minorities or marginalized ones, where there is a sense of privilege over others, which is and have commodified. And finally, in this generation, like us, we saw these problematics and consider a disrespect art act and have a controversial parts. And well, it's important because we know how to identify the cultural appropriations since it can involve taking elements such as clothing, art, rituals, traditions, or anything like that. And well, in this context, like the outside part of the world, they don't belong us and therefore the results of a mockery of an offense which does not take into consideration to historical meaning in these cultural parts.
Yeah, I agree with you, Robert. I think the controversy around cultural appropriation comes with this usage is perceived as descontextualized, disrespectful, exploitative, or stripped of its original meaning, especially when the group that appropriates is historically dominant or has oppressed the group from which it takes the cultural elements.
Yes, it's like the parts like when you hear about colonialism, and it's important to know, Evelyn, because other part that it's a huge point in this part of cultural appropriation is which is very different to cultural appreciation. To understanding, I share with you like cultural appreciation results in an understanding and also learning to the culture accurately, not with a research for personal benefit, but to understand and honor any culture in a respectful way.
I want to explain a little bit about the difference between appropriation and appreciation. So, In contrast with cultural appreciation is about recognizing, learning, and respecting the beauty of the culture. It involves intentional learning, respect the context, engaging with the culture communities, and ensuring mutual respect. In summary, appreciation is context sensitivity and intentional, focusing on respect and learning. Appropriation is often disregards cultural significance for personal or commercial gains. Appreciation involves giving credit and engaging with the culture and its people wherever areas of appropriation lacks acknowledgement and can be exploited a bit.
Yeah, I agree with all of that you mentioned. And something important that I would like to mention is that it's possible to use these two terms in the same case. I think the key lies is the attitude, respect, and recognition towards the cultural origin.
Yes, I'm agree with them and like the things that Marcus said about it, and finally like Evelyn. And it's very interesting because there are so many cases like they have a cultural appropriation, and finally there are like cultural appreciation. But suddenly you wonder, what do these two topics related to the cinema that have to do in this part of it? Well, in this case, cultural appropriation in Hollywood was reached a critical point. In recent decades, the intervention of large studios and the incorporation of films with stories of cultures that do not respond to American context, they have been around it since the golden age of American cinema. And yes, in Hollywood, the cultural appropriation has been noticeable, from the appropriation of cultures considered exotic, like Latin American, African, and other ones, through spaces, clothing, characters, or historical relevance playing by actors of a different nationality, of the modification of an important context in only seeks like an economic benefit at the box office.
Okay, so now I can add some information to this theme Robert was talking about. Uh, I can say that cultural appropriation also means another part that is stereotyping and oversimplification of cultural practices and traditions. Maybe you can all assume different things about a country, about a place, about a culture, but it means so much more about that. And when viewers consume these descriptions that may internalize information and inaccurate views, they cannot have this important understanding of diverse cultures and different way to manage them. And it is essential for the filmmakers and content creators to approach cultural representation with sensitivity, authenticity, and inclusivity, to have all these complete information and have the right way to start um, incorporating cultural appropriation in different TV shows and movies.